unfiltered discussions, unexpected guests. No topic is off limits, from sex and relationships to the human condition, personal anxieties, and so much more. The only talk show of its kind in the world. This is The Last Show with David Cooper.
Hello and welcome. Happy Friday night as we navigate into Saturday morning, and I hope you're having a great start to the weekend. A quick update from my tiny black cat Tomato for those who care. The following is a list of people who do care. Me. End of list. He's got a sore above his eye. It popped today. It's bleeding a bit. I think I gotta take him to the vet. We're gonna take him to the vet this weekend. How about that? It'll be good for our kitty, but not great on the wallet. Why are vets so expensive? Why am I ranting? Let's tell you about tonight's show. Foreign correspondent from London, England, Tony 5 is going to be here for a very alliterative segment called Dony Dives Dog Dilemma. Yeah, I just added a bunch of D's to his name. He's a man who's been very open on this show about dealing with depression, and he's fostering a dog. Should he adopt the dog? And how might that help him? And how might it have helped you if you were struggling and you wanted a companion? That's what we'll tackle on Dony Dives Dog Dilemma. Should be fun and alliterative. I mean, all the letters will be the same in the name of the thing. That'll be in about 10 minutes' time. After that, your calls. That's right, we'll be taking listener calls at 1-888-505-6644. The breathy lady will say that number in a few moments. And later in the hour, someone who entered foster care at 14, ran away at 16, didn't finish high school, who has now won an Emmy Award and is a journalist. Her painful story and the lessons you might learn from it should be something that'll pique your interest. That is merely some of tonight's show. It's going to be action-packed. We better jump into it.
Want to be part of The Last Show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
Need your fix of illegal drugs, but stuck rotting away in prison with no one to get them from? Fear not, Narco Kitty is to the rescue. Yes, in today's episode of Crime and Furishment, terrible pun, a drug smuggling cat was caught sneaking through a Costa Rican prison yard with both crack cocaine and marijuana strapped to its cute little tiny body. And before you ask, no, this is not the world's most immersive method actor prepping for Cats 2 the musical. We getting high up on this perch. Cat perch. Prison guards at a penitentiary in Costa Rica noticed a certain feline looking suspicious, which in cat terms means slightly more suspicious than usual. Turns out attached to the cat were gray patches on its fur. And these were not fashion-forward choices, but bags stuffed with drugs. You know, just your standard 236 grams of weed and 86 grams of crack cocaine. A real party animal this cat was. They're calling him Narco Kitty, which is both adorable and maybe a little worrisome. Officers eventually caught the cat while it tried to scale a tree, presumably attempting to take the high ground, both strategically and perhaps metaphorically. Catching it was about as difficult as hurting a cat, because it was a cat. Now, there's actual footage of this capture, and yes, we watched it. It's like the TV show The Wire met Homeward Bound, but somehow it's sadder than you'd think it would be. Authorities seized the drugs and handed the cat over to Animal Health Services, where it was evaluated for health and safety. Now, I can't stress this enough. I'm a cat lover myself, and while this is hilarious, it's also just straight up animal cruelty. Cats don't choose the drug life. Someone chooses it for them, unwisely. Don't try this at home if your home's next to a prison and you want to smuggle the prison drugs. Also, don't smuggle drugs into a prison. Anyway, drug smugglers unfortunately routinely exploit animals in Costa Rica's prison system. Outside handlers load up stray dogs with drugs and lure them towards inmates using food. Honestly, to me, it sounds like the most depressing game of fetch you've ever heard of. But using cats, this isn't even a one-time thing. A few years back, a white cat in Panama was busted outside another prison, carrying a makeshift drug pouch like it was headed to an EDM festival. In response to the rising smuggling, though, Costa Rica's president is going full law and clodder. I'm an idiot. He's announced a tough new prison model based on El Salvador's maximum security fortress. Oh no. Think bad time. No snacks, no visits, no smuggling things into the courtyard via pets. Just a really bad time. So to recap, the cat and mouse game in some prison systems just got furrier, sadder, and somehow a little more absurd. If only we could put all this effort cracking down on drugs into rehabilitation, we might not need to frisk Garfield for weed in the prison yard. Though frisking Garfield for lasagna might be a good idea, because Garfield likes lasagna. All right, that was the tale of Narco Kitty. I just like saying it, Narco Kitty. Not all heroes wear capes. Some carry cans of spray chalk and take on the local government with a vengeance, all the while making the world a safer place. Meet a Charlottesville, Virginia man who said, "If the city won't draw the line, I will." Literally, with chalk, the washable kind. The man got tired of dodging cars at a busy intersection, just trying to cross the street, and thought to himself, what if I just made a crosswalk? You know, a revolutionary idea in the year 2025. Walkability. After years of ignored city council requests, the man grabbed a can of spray chalk and went full-on Banksy. That is, if Banksy was obsessed with pedestrian safety and not social commentary and rats. He painted a humble pair of white lines at a notoriously dangerous intersection where he lived. And something miraculous happened. Drivers slowed down. Imagine that. The bar for civic miracles is now lower than the curb they probably never built. And what did the city do in response? In their infinite wisdom, they did what governments do best. They erased the chalk, made the intersection dangerous again, and issued a warrant for the man's arrest. Yes, a warrant. For chalk. Water-soluble chalk. You know, somewhere out there might be a guy who just keyed a Mercedes 10 minutes ago. They're listening and thinking, I really dodged a bullet. Now the man, being classy and a gentleman, turned himself into the cops. Because when you're facing a year in jail for chalk, you might as well do it with dignity. And he says he's not backing down. He says the fight isn't over, it's just beginning. And honestly, I hope it ends with him being knighted. He says his neighbor, who uses a wheelchair, called him a hero. Which is true, because the real crime here is not chalk. It's pretending a paint job is a public menace. While people in wheelchairs are stuck froggering their way across traffic at an intersection that nobody does anything to make safer. It's infuriating. Now, Charlottesville, Virginia, the city declined to comment because saying we arrested a man for sidewalk art with water-soluble paint doesn't look great on a press release. The man's court date is set for next Tuesday, and he's bringing his chalk can as Exhibit A. You know your legal system's in a strange place when your best defense is Crayola branded. So here's to the man, the Robin Hood of road paint, the Banksy of boulevards, the Bob Ross of basic human infrastructure. If justice exists, the court will not convict him. They'll hand him a bucket of neon chalk and let him finish the job. Or better yet, let him teach a masterclass to residents, titled, How You Can Engage in Public Safety for $4.99 at a craft store. So long live the man. May his lines be straight, his spray cans full, and his legacy etched forever in the hearts for those who believe in safe crosswalks, even if those crosswalks aren't city approved. Hey, guess what? No, you guessed wrong. The last show is available as a podcast. If you missed any given night or you're not going to stay with us the whole evening, you can listen to what you didn't catch on your favorite podcast app. Just go to www.lastshow.pizza. That's lastshow.pizza, not .com. And there you can find out details on how to subscribe. After the break, Dony Dives Dog Dilemma. Dogs are great for mental health and for people who are struggling with depression. And that's exactly what our foreign correspondent, Tony 5, is dealing with. He's debating adopting a foster. We'll talk it through. It'll be heartfelt. You're not going to want to miss it.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644.
It's the remix here with foreign correspondent Tony 5. I'm David Cooper. This is The Last Show. Tony's in London, England, probably.
Welcome, David. Welcome, world. Welcome to our new listeners in Zaire. Again, we've got a wonderful following in Zaire, David. Fantastic. The Zaitians love it there.
Is Zaire even a country anymore? I thought it got renamed to something.
No idea, but it's the listeners of the former country or the current country are listening to us.
Oh, it's still a country. Oh, no.
Brilliant.
It was the Congo now. It's the Congo.
Well, we all like a dance, don't we, David? We all love a bit of a Congo.
That's where Gloria Estefan is from.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Turn the beat around. Is that what she said?
I thought it was, come on, everybody, but do the conga. No, you can't control yourself any longer. Feel your rhythm.
Wow.
Getting stronger. It's such a good song, man.
I mean, a 90s reference for all you guys out there who are still alive.
Tony, we're going to try something a little new. We're going to do a new segment, alliteratively named.
Okay.
Dony Dive's Dog Dilemma. And you are Dony Dive.
Well, I'm Dony Dive, and the dog dilemma, David, is concerning your number one foreign correspondent. It's moi, David, which is moi in French.
I hate you.
All right?
I raged at you before the show today. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. You can rage all you want. Don't worry. It's fine.
You just were showing up almost late and you were all scattered and you're like, oh, I'm here. I'm like, we're starting the show.
What I love is that you've got you're so well organized. You got like everything organized in Excel columns and matrices and you write formulas. And I just rock up. Sometimes I even forget my sunglasses and I walk into stuff. I turn the microphone on. I don't press the right buttons. And yet it goes well. And yet the feedback from the listener is, it's better.
With you. I know, but you know what? I call it David Cooper's Law. You know, like there's, Moore's Law, and it's that computers speed doubles every year. And there's, what's Murphy's Law, where what can go wrong?
It's an Interstellar.
Interstellar? No, what can go wrong will go wrong.
No, isn't it Murphy's Law? Something about dropping toast on the floor.
What are you talking about?
You drop a toast on the floor and it will always land butter side down. That's Murphy's Law, isn't it? It's the toast law.
Yes, you're confusing me and I don't understand your references.
Wait, which is Moore's Law is the one that you can talk to a robot and you know it's not a robot. Isn't that one?
Moore's Law is roughly the number of transistors on a computer doubles every 18 months.
But how do you know? Who's counting them?
That's just what's happened since the 70s. Computing power has grown.
Yeah, but is it happening now? How many are there now?
Computers?
No, transistors.
A lot, millions, billions. I don't know.
Yeah, and half of it, last year there was half of it.
Yes. Tony, let me get to... My law is that any creative work that is sufficiently taken seriously, like this show, believe it or not, ends up in an Excel spreadsheet.
I prefer the toast one.
I hate you.
I'll be honest with you. Why do you keep saying you hate me? You don't hate me. You love me. But
I do love you.
You're like, you fake hate me. You love me.
I do fake hate. I was just going through my favorites list because I had to prune someone from my... Because I like to keep...
That's painful, isn't it? When you've got to take some of your favorites, it's like they don't know, but you know. That there's two things that with the phone that are quite painful to do. It's removing someone that's passed away, and that's always very difficult. But it's also the removal of the favorites. Oh, painful.
I like to keep only the number of favorites on my favorite screen that can fit, so I don't have to scroll up or down. So I only have like 8 or 9 on there.
Wow. Do you know 8 or 9 people?
I guess I do. I mean, one of them's you. I can't put my cat on there. He's definitely my best friend.
No.
But I felt like there was too many men on my list, so I was looking to promote a woman.
You hemophiliac, David.
I did, actually. Listeners, the attentive listener would know her as Natalie Norman. She's a comedian who comes on the show sometimes. But I had to drop someone. Who's on your favorites list? You know you're on mine.
You, my mum, my neighbor. You, my mum, my neighbor. And Domino's Pizza.
There you go. Brother, girlfriend, 3, 4, 5 close friends, my parents, you, another friend, and then Natalie, who aforementioned was. But I had to drop someone.
In all fairness, because you've got that many, I don't think any of them are your favorite.
No, that's the thing. I have too many acquaintances and no one close to me.
It's like you're saying, he's my best friend. Well, who is? Like 10 of them?
We're off track. It's Dony Dive's Dog Dilemma. Now, Dony, do you have a dilemma with a dog or not?
So, David, I'll be brief, and I'm wearing briefs. I, obviously, for those who don't know, have come out of a really long depression, wasn't feeling very well. My normal life, for people that don't know, is that I travel a lot. I'm kind of everywhere all the time. I think last year I'd been to 6 or 7 places, including Thanksgiving with David, and it's a hectic life. But I've always loved dogs. In some respects, preferring dogs to people. And currently, I am I'm fostering a beautiful dog. His name is Frank.
He is beautiful, man.
He is beautiful.
I don't even like dogs, and your dog has a shiny, perfect black or brown coat.
Brown, like dark brown chocolate, they call it, a chocolate lab.
Chocolate, ooh, just like you.
Yeah, thank you. And the beauty of it is, like, I get to foster him. So he's been abandoned twice, and he comes to foster. So foster means he comes to live with me. The charity provide everything. All I give him is love and a walk, and he's in a home rather than being in a kennel, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And he's been with me, and it's been great. And I shouldn't have, but I keep buying him toys and whatever. Now, the charity contacted me recently, and they've said we've got potential adoptees. So I have to make a decision, hand him back or keep him and adopt him, which means obviously I take ownership, the cost, the responsibility, and there are like 2 ways. So recently David's been talking to me about like my sleep hygiene, which is a really positive thing to do. And actually having this dog, anybody out there who's got a dog, they'll know what a massive impact it has on their lives. Just the company and, you know, the companionship and having someone there, right? And I'm kind of in 2 minds. I have to give a decision by next week. So that is my dilemma, David.
Do you have someone who can mind after him or watch after him?
Correct. So that's the research. So well done, David. Well played. I am doing the research now to someone who can either come into my house and feed Frank and, you know, maybe take him out for a walk if I'm on call for a day. But if I'm away, so like, for example, when I'm coming to you Thanksgiving, I need to do the research for like a doggy, I don't know, hotel or whatever. Or
have a friend stay at your place and mind after him.
Absolutely. But I've got a camera that I can see him with and anybody else in my house. And he's great. And I must admit, his name was Aero, but I love giving animals like normal names.
Like Tomato, my cat.
Yeah, yeah. But that's like a funny name. But like, I'd love to see like a Neil the frog. Or like, do you know what I mean? Or you know, like stupid things like that. Or yeah, it's just, I like Frank the dog or Graham. You know, like somebody in the park just screaming Graham.
I don't really think, you know, pets have genders, and I don't really like, it's my cat's a boy. So I wanted to give Tomato.
You will find that my dog's got big old on him, David. He's definitely a man.
No. They have the organs. I just mean like personality-wise. It's not like people.
I'm going to tell Frank you said that. Good Lord. Are you, what do they call it? Not outing. Are you gender bending my dog?
I might be. Anyway, regardless, the end of what I wanted to say was I wanted to give Tomato a traditionally androgynous name, a name that could be equally given to a man or a woman.
Or a fruit.
And the name I really wanted to give Tomato was Barbara, and Miranda wouldn't let me do it.
But that's a female name, isn't it?
No, but there's many male Barbaras.
Really?
Yeah, I just can't think of any, but there must be.
There must be. I mean, maybe, dear listener, you could phone up and just let us know. If you're called Barbara and you're a man, you'll be great.
Cliffhanger for next week? When will we find out whether you adopt Frank or not?
Well, we'll find out in the next show, David.
Oh my God, you really should. I think it would be good for your mental health.
Coming up soon. The lines are open, people. The number is 111-211-311. David, what is it?
1-888-505-55. Oh God, I screwed it up. 1-888-505-6644. That's 1-888-505-6644. Toll free in North America.
And the topic is, if you're alive and you can speak, you're welcome on the show.
We want to talk to anyone, please. If you've heard this show and you're listening, give Tony5 and I a call. Tony will be back in just a few minutes' time to take your calls. The number 1-888-505-6644. Tony, thank you.
David, always a pleasure. It's either going to be very, very quiet or very, very loud.
I'm David Cooper. That was foreign correspondent Tony5, and this continues to be the last show.
Never will be.
We'll be back with your listener calls on the other side of the break.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644. Broadcasting intimate details and useless information from an undisclosed location in New York City. The Last Show with David Cooper.
We are back with foreign correspondent Tony 5 in London, England. Tony, welcome to you.
Oh, forget about welcoming me, David. Guess who we've got?
We've got someone who has the odd brain disorder that causes them to like listening to the show. We have a caller, we have a listener, and her name is Lauren in Detroit.
Woo!
That's who we have.
Detroit, Michigan, baby, the Windy City, home of Las Vegas.
Thanks for having me. Hello, Canada.
Hello, Canada. Hello, Lauren.
Hello, America. Hello, Zanzibar. And our latest listeners from the Sudan.
Yes. Which one? North or south? Is it? No,
there's Sue and Dan. Sorry, did I not make that clear?
Tony, you're killing me. Lauren, what you called the show? What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi. I don't know why I'm here, honestly, but I'm calling in because you guys are two of my favorites, and I'm celebrating Tony's triumphant return.
Do you know, David, it almost seems like I've paid Lauren because before you go on air, we have a little chat and it was brilliant. You know, before we put you live, we just make sure everybody's comfortable. And Lauren saw how absolutely anal David is and how we're winding up. He already warned me not to get your number, to talk to you, but not to say anything bad, not to say where your name is. Basically, he trigger warned you about me. And you're so lovely.
It's because you're insane, Tony. And we talked about this on the show last night.
Yeah, you really are.
Thank you.
You sent me a postcard in the mail. Do you remember that?
There you go, and you got it. So, Lauren, I mean, it's been amazing. Obviously, you continued listening to the show whilst I wasn't here.
Yeah.
How did you do it? What medication did you use? How did you get along listening to David's drivel without me?
Well, I will tell you, Tony, we have been cheering David on for a long time in my house.
Oh, my God.
And yes,
no.
it was really lonely and sad without you. But there's some backstory there. So, of course, we listen to David even without you. But now you're back and you guys are, a good team.
Thank you. Can I ask who the we is?
Who's the we?
Who's the we? Like,
in my house. In my house.
yes.
So your family is furious with you when you put us on the radio? Like, what do you mean we?
No. So, okay, long story short, what was it? In the early years of the pandemic, was it 2022, David, when you were filling in on the late show? What was it? On the showgram?
Yes, I was on a bunch of other stations, but you could hear us in Detroit.
Yes, exactly. So we would get CKLW.
I'm so sorry about that. Did you get some cream for it? Anyway, carry on. Keep going.
Yeah.
That is a station I used to be on. I'm not on. It's a fine station.
It's a fine station. It was one of the only stations. And anyways, we would turn on the radio at night when we're going to sleep so that we wouldn't, think about how the world was burning. And one night we hear this guy on the radio and we said, who is this? Who is this? And it was David Cooper.
Uh-huh.
And we thought, well, what's this guy doing on the radio?
And you thought, man, they let anybody on the radio these days.
Yeah.
And you thought, how could this get any worse or any more insane? And then you hear Tony's voice? Is that how it...
Did you think it's the apocalypse? We're all going to die.
Yeah.
It's a virus wreaking havoc across the world.
And then...
Yeah. There are starving children. There might be a comet coming. And now there's this guy on the radio. Like, what have I done?
Yes, precisely. But then we grew to love David.
I'm like a fungus.
And then you, Tony.
Like a fungus.
Yeah, it's like your foot fondness took over my mind.
Oh, you're too sweet, Lauren.
No, but here's the thing. No, but joking aside, David, you were very open and honest and
oh my God,
just about all kinds of things, and we really appreciated that.
Oh, I can feel him cringing. Look, he hates being told.
I don't like I don't like a compliment.
Oh, he hates it. He hates the compliment. Keep going. I want him to squirm.
All right. But you know what? You did such a fabulous job, and then you said, "I'm a Jew."
Right, just pause it there, David. Let's leave her with the anti-Semitism.
Wait.
David, let's leave it there, right there.
No, I'm Jewish.
Why did you want to hear a Jewish guy, an annoying Jewish guy on the radio?
We We totally did, because we thought you were very brave. There's not a lot of people in radio who are like, I'm Jewish. But anyways, you both grew on us. We were cheering you on through the different iterations of your show, and we're thrilled for you guys. We used to also live in San Francisco when we were younger.
Oh.
And when we heard, David, you're very open about your story, and we've been really excited for you to find your passion in radio.
Thank you. Tony and I met in San Francisco as well.
You know how we met, right? We met on, what's the street called? There's a famous street in San Francisco.
Valencia Street.
Right, which you probably know. And I'd walk through, for those who don't know, I'd walk through the Tenderloin late at night, which apparently is a really rough area.
It is.
And I just saw this crazy person in a window thinking he was homeless, and we just started chatting. But that's amazing. So basically, love got even better because David's a Jew, I'm a black guy. So basically, Sammy Davis Jr.
So if me and Tony were to have a child, which we have tried, but for whatever reason, science isn't there yet.
Biology, haven't got the group on.
It would be either Drake or Lenny Kravitz, or that would be
Sammy Davis Jr.
There you go.
Oh gosh.
Lauren, you are so sweet. I don't know. We shouldn't have taken your call. You're too nice. If you had been mean, I would have loved it. But this is hurting my soul.
No, Lauren, you need to become a regular. Please pick up the phone and call us again. It's absolutely wonderful.
I called once. David was killing a spider, and I was really upset. I wanted to teach you catch and release.
Catch and release?
No, for real.
Isn't that what they do to fish?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it to
black
spiders.
People. Wow. Tell us about you. Like, what do you do in Detroit, Michigan?
Oh, well, Detroit's a pretty good place. You just have to come and experience it.
Yeah, so it's like the Motor City, right? It's like where they have an M&M.
Yes.
And other sweets. Wow.
Yeah, no, it's a good place. I don't do too much here. It's kind of, you know what? Actually, all right, this ties in. So you guys have your show, and you can download it as a podcast.
Thank you.
And for years, I downloaded it as a podcast, and you kept me company while I'm vacuuming or doing my dishes. It's like nothing's exciting around here. But what do? The biggest thing I do right now is I run an online, I'll call it a friend group, but really it's a virtual social/support group for people from all over the world. We have over 150 people now who are homebound or isolated due to their need to still be kind of COVIDing, and they can't afford to get sick over and over.
Wow.
And I run this group.
So they've got like a what do they call it? And they've a poor immunity, so that's why they do it. Wow.
It's immunocompromised. Yeah, exactly. But this kind of ties into like Tony, what you were going through and things like that.
Yeah.
There's so many reasons that people are homebound, and we don't always stop to think that there's people in their homes. Maybe they're lonely. Maybe they live alone, and there needs to be more opportunities.
Absolutely.
To get out there and socialize and have fun.
Yeah, isolation. And as a side note, your group has got more listeners than the show, which is absolutely phenomenal.
I don't believe it.
Don't come on the show and advertise your group. We should be advertising this show in your group.
Well, she did the podcast, David.
Yeah,
she did actually say the podcast.
We're having an event called Jew Pizza.
Oh, boy.
Because I told everyone about your website.
Oh, no.
Jew.pizza. Yeah, it's a cooking event.
Lauren, you're very sweet. Lauren, it's so kind that you let us keep you company. I mean, that's kind of why we're here, and it's so nice of you to come on the show, call the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, Lauren, do you want me to PayPal you or just send a check over? What do you actually...
No fee. No fee, Tony.
Okay, well, I'm glad you like the postcard, and you can say I actually did genuinely send you a postcard, right?
Yeah, you did.
And I haven't turned up at your door.
No.
I haven't tried to stalk you.
Or wear my face.
Or wait... Tell David that, please, and then we're just going to go.
Lauren's proof that Tony is less scary than he seems. If you want a postcard from Tony5, just email him, tony@lastshow.pizza. Lauren, you are from Detroit. You are a listener. You called the show. Thank you for being here. What a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Bye, guys.
There he goes, foreign correspondent Tony5. Coming up, someone whose story starts with foster care and not finishing high school and ends up with a journalism degree and an Emmy Award. We're going to talk resilience and getting the most out of life in just a few moments.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644. The show that asks the questions other shows are afraid to ask. The Last Show with David Cooper.
Some journeys are not about finding a path. They're about building one for yourself from scratch. I am with Sherae Honeycutt, whose story began at early life with foster care. With detours through heartbreak, resilience, running away, not finishing high school, but it ends with an Emmy Award and a master's in journalism. I want to talk with her deeply about identity, purpose, and what it means to choose your own direction. Sherae is also the city spokeswoman for Kansas City, Missouri. Sherae, I gotta say, I'm really glad we're speaking today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, David.
You did something that when I read, I was moved by, but I also thought I should do that. It's writing a letter to your younger self. Before we get into the why, before we get into what the letter said, what's the motivation purely for the letter?
The letter was, it was a form of the acknowledgement that I wrote in my thesis or my project that I did. And so the school was so moved by it. One of my professors said it was the most moving acknowledgement she'd ever read in her career. And they asked me to take it and actually do the prompt of writing. They said, can you write a letter to your younger self from the story that I told in the acknowledgement? And it was a pretty emotional experience to do.
It starts off by telling your younger self that she's not broken, she's just unfinished, which is like such a cool frame. I wish someone had said that to me growing up. Can you elaborate a little bit on that for us?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it stemmed from the idea that I got as a very young child that I wasn't going to amount to anything. Part of that came from my mom having a severe mental illness and watching her life really unravel and her struggle just to have conversations and do basic things. And so when you're a child, you identify with your parent. And I looked at my mom and I said, at some point in my life, this is going to happen to me. And that was at about 7 years old. I started thinking that.
Wow.
And so by the time I was in high school and I really started understanding my surroundings and what school was and what growing up was, I had just decided that there was no physical way that I could achieve the things that my father had or achieve the things that my peers were achieving. And so I just believed I was broken. And I believed that there was no possibility for me to move forward in life.
What a tough narrative to sell yourself at 7 when you're an innocent kid, and then you basically believe it about yourself for even when it may not be true. You enter foster care at 14, you run away at 16, you don't finish high school, you finished a master's degree in journalism. Between the start point and that point is quite a journey.
Oh, yeah.
At what point does the switch flip? This narrative that you're telling yourself that you're going to grow up, you're going to kind of emulate your mother's path. What makes you flip the switch there and decide to kind of like change your path?
There were several switches. I don't think when you go through something like that, you just change overnight. So part of my journey that I didn't really go into in the story is when I ran away from home, I ran into an abusive relationship for 4 years. So I went through a severely abusive experience. And so part of that was making the decision to leave that and making the decision that my life, I looked at it at the time and I remember I had this epiphany where I looked out a window and I said, I don't know what's going on outside this window on the other side, but I want to know what's going on. And there's something better for me out there. So that was one of them. And that happened when I was 20. And that's when I decided to go get my GED to learn how to drive a car. And then I went and I worked in coffee shops and I got like a real job. My dad told me, you got to get a real job. So I went and got a job as a recruiter for several years. And then the recession happened and I lost my job several times and I didn't have a degree. And my dad said to me, Sherae, this is your chance to go and do something with your life that's different. And so I went to junior college as a 27-year-old and I started taking pre-algebra and I took basic English classes and I learned how to write and I learned about literature and I learned about all these things. And I thought, I am kind of smart. My teachers say I am smart. And I had one teacher that was like, you should go into mathematics. And I was like, I don't want to do that, but thank you. And so finding that love of journalism and telling stories and then going into education and then getting internships in journalism all the way up to interning with NBC Nightly News and working with Maria Shriver.
And these are things like I never as a child thought I would ever do. And it was all baby steps. It was all little goals and things that I achieved. And now at 40, I've graduated with my master's degree. I have an Emmy, and I worked as a journalist for about 10 years. And so it's just wild to think about where I started and where I am now, but I wouldn't be who I am today without those experiences.
I studied math. I dropped out of it in my first year, so you aren't missing anything. I thought I wanted to do math, so I tried it, and it's hard.
Well, it's just puzzles. That's what I tell kids I work with. It's just puzzles. Do you like puzzles? Then you love math.
It's puzzles when you're a kid. When you're an adult, it's letters and anyway. Not
it's all perspective, David. It's perspective.
Math is perspective. I like that.
Your perspective on math is what it is.
True. For some people, math is great. For others, not so much. It sounds like you're someone who could have fallen into a trap of feeling like they were too far behind to get started at a certain age, and you didn't. I have fallen into this trap. I entered broadcasting at like 33 professionally, 32 professionally. I only realized it was something I wanted to do in my late 20s. But there's people that like go to journalism school when they're teenagers. My example is not extreme, but there are people out there who feel like they've fallen far behind, and they haven't. But what would you wish they knew? It seems like you had a lot of wisdom around this at 27 years old.
Yeah, I mean, it's really never too late to start. And I did feel that way for a long time. Like I said, I went and got a big girl job. I went and worked in an office. And I found that I was very unsuccessful doing that. I found that I was not happy. I couldn't make the money I wanted to. I was always coming up against, corporate America BS. And for me, I just felt like it wasn't right. And I wasn't doing anything right until I started living my purpose, which I didn't know at the time. But you have to find somewhere to start. So I think the way I really started in education was interesting is that my dad took me on a trip to Europe for the first time when I was like 27, around that same time I started school. And I decided we went to France and we went to Italy. And I was like, whichever I like better, I'm going to learn the language. And that's how I got into junior college. As I came back and I lost my job and I said, okay, I'm going to take a class. I take one class. And I took a French class. And I still practice my French today. But I was like, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the textbook. I enjoyed doing the homework. There's really no better time to start than right now. And just doing something small is what's going to get you doing something big. You just have to start with your niche, start with something you're passionate about, whether that's, you really like reading or you really enjoy science or whatever that is. Start there and really find a way to set small goals for yourself because, you say, oh, it's too late for me. Your life is very long. I sit and think, oh, I'm 40, I'm old, which I know a lot of people laugh at that. But I also sit there and think, well, I'm 40. I still have a whole other lifetime to live. And so would you you're just going to give up because you only have 40 years left to do something? If I had 5 years left to live and I knew I did my master's degree, I wouldn't regret it for a second because it's the experience.
I find when I make these accomplishments that I'm working towards, it was more about, I know this sounds so cliche, but it's more about the journey than it is the destination. And so I'm not so focused on I try my best to focus on enjoying what I'm doing every day as it comes to working towards the goal because there's rewards in that. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. I've had so many rewards in my life and they're always the reward at the time. And then I look back and those are like gifts, right? It's like I look back on these moments like I never, ever thought I would work in network news. Never thought it. I went into one of my advisor's offices and I was like, I don't know what I want to do for my internship this summer. I think I'm going to go do an internship at this TV station. And she was like, okay, well, you've done two local TV station internships. So you're going to do the same internship a third time. And I was like, I guess. She's like, no, where do you want to go? What's your dream? What do you want to do? And I said, well, I'd like to go, work on network news. And I went and got that internship. I fought and I got it. It took me 9 months, but I did it. And I spent a whole summer in Los Angeles and really lived a dream that I never thought I could accomplish.
We're here with Sherae Honeycutt, someone whose journey started out with foster care, running away, and ended up in a lot of great places, one of which included an Emmy. She wrote a letter to her younger self. We're discussing the finer points of that, and our conversation will continue after the break. Sherae Honeycutt is also the spokeswoman for Kansas City, Missouri. I'm David Cooper. This is The Last Show.
Your nightly dose of unfiltered opinions and unexpected conversations. The Last Show with David Cooper.
What do you get when you mix foster care, a GED, and an Emmy? Our guest, Sherae Honeycutt, continues to tell us what it's like to be a runaway teen to someone who earns a master's degree in journalism. We're going to talk her journey in this letter she wrote to her younger self. She's the city spokeswoman for Kansas City, Missouri. Sherae, thanks for being here. It's been a good chat thus far.
It's been great.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Some of these elements that were in this letter you wrote to your younger self, as I read them, I think these would maybe be in my letter, you know? Not that I run away, but I wasn't very happy as a kid, you know? And I think it was more about me than my circumstances, but at the time, I really felt a victim of my circumstances. You told your younger self, like, you'll lose your way, you'll fall through the cracks. If you had heard that advice at the time, how do you think you would have reacted to it?
I don't think I could see outside myself. And I think that's part of like the journey of life, right? Like, I think if I had written this letter to myself and if I had sent it to myself and I'm sitting there at 14 reading it, I don't know that I could have taken myself out of the situation. I mean, when you're young, you have to learn those lessons. And so I don't look back on that time. You know, you're talking about, I feel a victim to your circumstance. I felt like a victim for a while in my life, but there was a certain point where I just said, I'm not a victim. This is just what my experience was. And it was a gift. I really look at a lot of the things that happened to me as a gift, because if I look at them any other way, it doesn't give justice to what I've done in my life. I've really worked hard and taken those steps to do something important, at least to myself. And it makes me feel good that, you know, people like you want to talk to me about the things I've done in my life. But it's really something where I don't want people to read that story and say like, oh yeah, she did fall through the cracks. I didn't actually. I just thought I would. I really believed that's what was going to happen to me. And I didn't allow that to happen to me.
You keep on talking about accomplishments as gifts. Can you say more about that? Because it's interesting. Like there's so much we can control: hard work, dedication, like commitment to our craft, studying, trying, putting in the effort, trying to correct our paths. But then there's these external rewards, like for you, maybe winning an Emmy. You describe them as gifts. And I think that's such an interesting way to look at outside rewards or outside labels. Those are gifts, but what's in our control is like the hard work and the things we do for ourselves.
Well, David, have you ever given yourself a gift?
Oh, man. I don't, say more. What do you mean by that? Like, have I gone to the store and bought myself something? Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it's that in a way. It's like you had to earn the money to get that gift. I had to earn my way to my gifts. We all have ways that we get the things in our lives. And so I've given myself many gifts through hard work and determination. I always like to say I use polite persistence. Everything I've gotten in my life, I got through either hard work or asking for it over and over and over again in the nicest way possible, which is also earning it. Right?
Yeah. I was saying this last night on my show. You just like keep showing up somewhere, and unless you get a restraining order, eventually, like they're gonna let you. Yeah. You know, that's how I got my first radio job. I kept on annoying people until someone took me seriously.
That's how I got my first TV job. Yeah, I kept calling the assignment editor at KTVU in Oakland, Ellen. I just kept calling her every 3 days, and I say, "Hi, Ellen, it's me again. I really want an internship. It's Sherae. I promise you, I'm going to do the best job ever. Have you talked to your manager yet?" And finally, she said, "Yes, I did. You have the internship." And so it's things like that where, there is times where, I had to write a huge project. I had to do a research project. It's huge. I have a girl I mentor right now. She's in junior college. And so she's talking to me about writing a paper. And I said, "Okay, well, how long is your paper?" She said, "It's 4 pages. I said, "Oh man, I remember when I had to write 4-page papers, and they were hard when I had to write a 4-page paper, but then I had to write a 10-page paper, and then I had to write a 20-page paper. And I just wrote a 40-page paper that was a 271-page document." So it's just goals in life and setting those goals. And that's a gift to myself, being able to do that, being able to write that paper and say, I did it. I really did it. And not only is it 5 pages, but it's quality 5 pages. You know, I got that Emmy award. I got that bachelor's degree. I got that master's degree. I got that GED. You know, those were all gifts I gave to myself through hard work and determination.
You mentioned mentoring a student right now.
Yeah.
The power of mentors. You earlier, you talked about your relationship with your dad. I don't know if you would see that quite as a mentor relationship, but the power...
I do.
Okay, good. But the power of relationships with people who are well-positioned to give you advice, to support you, who have more knowledge than you. Was that something in your story that really helped?
Yeah, I had a lot of teachers who helped me along the way. And that was also part of my acknowledgement, was talking about all of the teachers and people along the way who had helped me in different ways. I'm really blessed to have a lot of strong mentors in my life. And I never thought of myself as a mentor. I moved to the middle of nowhere, Missouri. Well, no offense, sorry, Cape Girardeau, Missouri. I moved to southeast Missouri, and I saw a commercial one day for this organization called CASA, which is Court-Appointed Special Advocates for Children. And it talked about how you could give back to a foster child and you could help guide them. And I was like, what do you mean I could help a foster child? I was a foster child. And so I got involved with this organization in 2016, and I've worked with them off and on, helping young women and kids who are in foster care. And so I mentored one girl for 2 years. I still keep in touch with her. And just being able to say, you can do these things. These are things you can accomplish, or being there to just help them with anything. Like I said, helping them with papers, helping them figure out how to get a job or have a car or whatever those things were when I was 20 and I didn't have anybody to help me with that stuff.
Your relationship with your father, how has that helped you?
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. My dad was here visiting me today, and he actually reminded me of this morning. He was like, you have to remember how strong you are. And he's like, when you came home and you were 20, I told you that you had a gift that nobody else would have. No matter, and he reminded me, he's like, you walk into rooms now with politicians, with people of high caliber, and you have an experience that a lot of those people haven't experienced, because you know what it's like not to have anything. You know what it's like to count your change to pay for food. And so he's there all the way, reminding me of who I am, reminding me what I can do. And that is so valuable to have that. And it really hurts my heart to know that there are people that don't have those. And so I encourage anybody that feels lost, try to find people in your circles that can give you help and give you reassurance and give you advice, because we can't live our lives on our own.
When it feels lonely, that power of someone just kind of looking out for you, is so important. And it's interesting, you're talking about a time in your life where you struggled so much, being both like a great, maybe not weakness, but great time of difficulty, but also being like such a superpower when you enter other situations in life. It's like you've got this wealth of experience that they don't, and that helps out. I've always thought that like some of our greatest weaknesses or some of our greatest difficulties can also be our greatest superpowers. Greatest piece of advice for your younger self, summarizing the letter, something that you could just outline for us, something that would really have helped you when you were growing up?
I think just to know that the journey is long and you have to keep working. You have to keep setting those small goals, because when you set a small goal, you'll achieve it and then you'll want to do another one because you're like, I did that. I did it. So if you can do those little goals, you just keep building up, because once you've done the small one, then the next one's probably going to be a little larger. And so I have a goal now that I'd like to write a book based on my research that I've done. And so that's the next goal I'm going to do. I haven't started it yet, but I know it's there and I know it's achievable.
Plus, all yes and your small goals can reach towards a big goal. Do not be afraid of a spreadsheet to manage creative projects. That's my advice. Sherae, this has been a great chat about your story, about your letter. I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Sherae Honeycutt is the city spokeswoman for Kansas City, Missouri. Ever joined a book club and put off reading the damn thing? Well, try joining a book club that's been reading the same book for 12 years. A bizarre, mind-bending classic with gibberish, but perhaps also genius. What could this book be, and what could you learn from it? Answers on the other side of the break.
Want to be part of the last show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644. The last show with David Cooper. Procrastinate your life away with us.
Do you think your book club is bad about actually finishing books? Try going through a book and taking 12 years and not even being close to being done it. I'm here with the founder and organizer of the Finnegan's Wake reading group in Austin, Texas, Peter Quadrino, to discuss a very particular, peculiar, I can't say that word. Peter, I can never say the word peculiar. Can you help me with that?
Peculiar.
Peculiar.
Lear.
You know what? I'm just a very odd, curious book. Finnegan's Wake. It is by James Joyce. And this is no ordinary book that you're reading in your reading group, is it?
No, it's not. It's, lots of different languages, lots of different associations, things like that. We started out the group where we were reading 2 pages in a meeting. And we'd spend 2 hours just unpacking and trying to figure out 2 pages. And at some point it was so much material and that we weren't able to cover it all in 2 hours. So we started doing 1 page per meeting, and that's been going pretty smoothly for us. So we do 1 page for 2 hours.
For those that don't know what Finnegan's Wake is, at a very high level, tell me about the book, because there's no book like it.
So I'll just talk a little bit about Joyce for a second. James Joyce was an Irish author who, he left Ireland when he was like in his early 20s because he thought it was too restrictive with the Catholic Church and also, being a subject of Britain. And he lived in Italy and Paris and all these places. And he was like a language teacher, so he's very interested in languages. And he was a writer. And his most famous book was Ulysses. And Ulysses was published in 1922, and Ulysses is much more approachable than Finnegan's Wake, but even Ulysses is a pretty unusual book. It's just like 700 pages about one day, and each chapter of the book kind of the style gets a little more stranger and a little more experimental, and then that leads into Finnegan's Wake. So Joyce spent 17 years writing Finnegan's Wake. And these were like the peak of his creative powers because he had just finished Ulysses, and he was like the most famous writer in the world after Ulysses. And a lot of his friends and supporters didn't understand what the hell he was doing with Finnegan's Wake when they were seeing the excerpts of it. They thought he was crazy or that he was wasting his talents and wasting his genius.
My naive read is like a lot of it's gibberish. There's 100-letter words. There's words that are made up. It's like the Jabberwock. To me, it makes very little sense. But that's my read. I'm sure yours is very different.
Yeah, that's what's so interesting about it is it looks like gibberish, and it looks like he just was having fun, just writing whatever came to him and just making noises and just messing with letters and words as much as possible. But the more you study it and the more you study like the composition of it and things like that, it's actually a really deliberately crafted work with an unbelievable amount of like structural intention and things like that.
Is it fair to say it's an experimental piece of literature?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What's the basic premise, as you see it, of the book?
The basic premise, I would say, is that somebody is asleep, and while they're sleeping within their dream world, there's cycles and cycles going on of basically all of history. And so the person who's sleeping and their family, which is next to them in the house, they kind of take on the roles of every historical person that's ever existed. But it's all kind of like all of history is kind of existing on one plane. So it's like time kind of fades away and characters and figures from 2,000 years ago and from 100 years ago are all kind of in the same place and interacting and things like that. So it's, the dreams, it's the unconscious, it's just everything that's way deep inside your DNA that you can't really summon with your daytime mind or your daytime consciousness.
Oh my God, you're losing me. There are those that worship this book. There are those that think it's one of the greatest pieces of literature of all time, that it has a deep meaning, deep questions about humanity are answered. And then there are critics who just kind of write it off. And like you say, they say James Joyce was wasting his talent for so many years. Where do you fall on that spectrum?
Oh, I'm definitely on the former camp of people who think that it's one of the greatest pieces of literature ever written. The thing that's so interesting is, like I said, it was Joyce at the peak of his powers. Like pretty much everybody that's interested in literature acknowledges that Ulysses is maybe the greatest novel ever written. But he spent the next almost 20 years of his life putting all of his focus on this book. And a lot of people brush it off or, don't want to really spend the time to try to figure it out. But if you spend a little bit of time with it, you'll see that it really is, I think it's Joyce's best work. And since Joyce is one of the greatest writers ever, it makes sense that it would be one of the greatest books ever. It's basically like a 628 page poem with all these different languages mixed in and things like that. But it's playful and it's fun and it's silly and it has the qualities of fairy tale or parable or things like that. And on the surface, yes, it looks silly, ridiculous, or impossible to comprehend. But if you spend a little bit of time with it and look up some of the words and things like that, it does start to come together a little bit. You have little inklings of understanding or inspiration too.
Why do you think people are so captured by this book when others are not?
I think a lot of people aren't captured by it just because it's not a regular book. It's not a book that you could pick up and try to get through as many pages as you can so that you could complete it and say, I finished it and I found out what happened in the end or whatever. You could read the book cover to cover and cycle back to the beginning and you'll learn different things than you saw the first time you read it. I've read it probably twice altogether, like cover to cover, but we read it twice a month with this reading group, and I'm always finding something new or learning something new, or so there's some new rabbit hole to go down and make new connections and things like that. I think why people are so drawn to it and captivated by it is it's like a sphinx. It's an absolute mystery, and yet it yields some interesting treasures when you spend time with it.
Is it purely about the book, or for you've got this book club? Is it about kind of the relationships and discussions you have along the way? Is that another important component of it?
Yes. Well, I started the book group originally because I was really interested in the book. And so it would come up in conversation a lot with friends and family and relationships, things like that. And a lot of times people will, indulge you talking about it, but they don't care about it or they don't know about it. So I was looking for other people that are really interested in this to talk with them about it and see what they think. And so that's why I started the group. And so, yeah, I made a lot of good friends over the years who are, we share the same interest. I mean, there's other things that we maybe don't agree on or whatever, but when you share that kind of passionate interest, it's easy to make good friends. But yeah, the book itself, even if I didn't have the group, I'm sure I would still be super interested in the book. It's inexhaustible, and yeah, it's endlessly rewarding, I find.
Well, I'm here with Peter Quadrino, founder and organizer of the Finnegan's Wake Reading Group in Austin, Texas. Now, Peter, I did not make a mistake I made with somebody a long time ago. I was a young, wet behind the ears radio personality. It must have been 7 or 8 years ago. And I told a man I'd read Finnegan's Wake who I was interviewing about it. Rookie mistake. I lied and told my guest I'd read Finnegan's Wake. And well, he called me out on it. Here's the clip. Okay.
And what's reported again and again and again by people who don't read Finnegan's Wake, people who play with it, is that they have a shockingly recurring phenomena such as synchronicities, deja vu.
I've read it.
Yeah, have you read it? You lying. You're a lying. Anybody in the world. We have. Sorry. And he pretends that he's read it. He's a lying.
I'm glad I didn't make the mistake with you. Peter, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely, David.
After the break, the mind of a street performer, a man who's donned silver and becomes Elvis. His name is Silver Elvis. He's a legend. What makes him busk? Stick around to find out. I'm David Cooper. This is The Last Show.
This is your nightly dose of chaos, confession, and questionable life choices. The Last Show with David Cooper.
You've seen Elvis, you've seen silver statues, but have you ever seen both at once on a sidewalk performing for you? Today we are joined by Silver Elvis, the king in full metallic glory, who occasionally collects loonies in his guitar case. He is in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Mr. Silver Elvis, thank you for joining me on the show. I'm so excited to chat.
Thanks a lot for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So who are you exactly, and what came first, the love of Elvis or the love of silver body paint?
I loved Elvis, of course. I was a theatrical model back in the 70s and a freestyle disco dance champion in 1978, and I was really good at doing the robot. So I loved doing the robot, and it seemed I've made a whole career out of it. You know, I was computer man on television, and that's a robotic character on a show called Vid Kids. And then I got tired of the film industry and television. I didn't like it. I didn't like the community. It wasn't my bag. So I looked for a new community and found buskers. So I went, well, how am I going to get a busking act? I'm going to leave television and just go on the street. I'm done. And I was 40. And I went, okay, I'm going to do this. So I had a silver jacket made, and I was going to be just a mechanical man. And then the designer put a high collar on the jacket, and hey, you look like a Silver Elvis. I went, yeah, let's do some pants, and that's when it happened. And I was 2 weeks out on the street, and I got a national tour of buskers festivals across Canada and internationally also.
Do you mean to tell me an accidentally popped collar was the impetus for like basically a 25, 27-year career as a Silver Elvis busker?
That and being good at robotics.
I love how you just smashed all these things together, some by experience and interest and some by accident, creating your act.
Yeah, well, I'm a eclectic artist, so I was just jamming with some holographic fabric that had a silver backing. Originally, I wanted to be called the 3D King, the holographic Elvis, but everybody just saw the silver. They didn't really see the hologram so much, and so I had to change the name to Silver Elvis instead of 3D King.
What is it like performing for an audience that doesn't always ask for a show, but might really need one? People on the street.
Well, I get a lot of comments from people years after they had seen me. I was 12 years straight in front of the Eaton Center at the food court area that crosses over the bay. 2,000 people an hour cross there. So the taxi driver said, "You got the best spot in the whole city, man." And so I stayed there for 12 years. And before it got pushed to renovations and whatever else, and I lost the spot. So, but 12 years of doing that, people would come up to and say, "You know what? I worked for the radiography department at the hospital. I'd come and have my lunches and watch your act every lunch, and it took the stress away from me. I've moved out of the city for 5 years, but the 5 best things you liked about the city, I was on the top." So, I get comments like that a lot. It's a stress reliever for a lot of people. It shakes them up, wow, I didn't expect this. This is kind of fun, they get it.
You mentioned having the best spot in Toronto where you perform. Is there secretly a mob-like mentality between street performers? Like, you're not allowed to take my spot or else something bad will happen? Or is it more friendly than that?
No. Well, it can be. It's more about, I got assaulted by a rickshaw driver thinking he had the spot.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So, I've had my moments, but usually it's addiction of some sort of the individual that thinks he owns the property. So, that's when it gets tough. If you play the streets will play you. That's my motto. So, it's a danger.
Unforgettable reactions you've had from passersby throughout the years could be bad, could be ugly, could be totally bizarre.
Oh, well, little kids, Daddy, is that his real head? Stuff like, when I'm just walking to the site, somebody will, I'll be passing them, and they look at me and they go, Jesus, they're just jump out of their skin, right? Because they just don't expect it because they're in the zone on their phone or just in some thought. And So that happens to me a lot of times. That Jesus, it just keeps saying that, and so I had to come back with a comeback because it was really annoying me. So then I started to say, went, oh, they would go, Jesus, and I would say, oh, no, honey, you're close. It's Elvis. And so that's a long comeback I could come back with, but it helped me get rid of that anger I had every time somebody got scared of me. I saw a guy lose $100 in front of me with a friend. That's not real. That's a machine. He started explaining how the machine works and everything, and my pedestal turntable. And the guy lost $100 cash right there.
Wow.
Because as soon as he put the bet down, I walked off the podium. And the guy went, "Holy shit, oh my God, I can't believe it!" So that was kind of fun.
I live in the U.S. $100. That's a pretty good haul. That could almost get you a carton of eggs these days.
That's right.
In a world that is obsessed with viral fame, with people at home, influencers spending hours on their phone taping their cat, they're not really getting that face-to-face, in-person magic. What is it like being a performer that really creates that? Sort of the opposite of, the 10-second short-form video, really connecting with their audience.
Well, I have a phobia of actually being famous. So I decided I was going to be heavily made up and stuff so people couldn't recognize me. But I get to live the legend of Elvis because they get their memories going. They start talking Elvis. I got a lot of Elvis people that come up and visit me at the podium, want to tell their Elvis stories. And people generally love Elvis. And so when I'm in the Elvis costume, it inspires that same chat. And I don't have to take any of it personally because it's all about Elvis. And so I get to third person it. And sometimes I'm not in costume when I'm at a restaurant and people are talking about Silver Elvis, and I'll interject, yeah, what is that guy? Is he nuts? What's that all about? And I start, having those third party conversations. And so I've enjoyed the fame because nobody knows who Pete Jarvis is, what I mean? Or they only like Elvis. So that's good.
That's your name, of course, Pete Jarvis.
Yeah.
Look, you talk about living the legend of Elvis for other people while performing as Silver Elvis on the street, all those hours with all those people. Have you uncovered any universal truths, anything deep about humanity that you want to share?
In general, I see over 1 million people a year passing by my podium because I do a lot of festivals across the nation. And internationally, New Zealand, Ireland, Poland, different places, really up to Turkey. I've done different places. But I have found that in most cases, people are really nice. There's just that small percentage, that 1% that, you might want to watch out for. But I put myself out there, on the street, in a vulnerable position. And I find for the most part, everybody is pretty good, which was a good realization, So, I think humanity, for the most part, is good.
It's that mean world syndrome or scary world syndrome where we think everyone out there is out to get us and mean, but when we actually look at people, most people, 99% of people are fundamentally good.
Yeah. I find that a lot of people are struggling. A lot of people are internally struggling. And just to have a little reprieve with a dream of Elvis and some fun and laughs and laughter and curiosity. My act is about laughter and curiosity and wonder and lots of questions. People have a lot of questions. So when you get that curiosity sparking, people are engaged. And a lot of our stuff, it's not just engaging enough,
Well, Mr. Silver Elvis, I appreciate you coming on the show, telling your story and having this chat. Thanks so much for your time.
Well, thanks for taking the time to say hello.
Coming up soon, if you've considered looking for a new job or brushing up your resume or interviewing, the thought of using generative AI like, ChatGPT to help you might seem like a good idea. And in some cases it is, in some cases it's not. So when should you use AI to help you with your job hunt? That we'll find out in a few moments.
Want to be part of The Last Show with David Cooper? Call us and join the conversation. 1-888-505-6644. Broadcasting intimate confessions and useless obsessions. You're listening to The Last Show with David Cooper.
Looking for a new job? Is it time to spruce up your resume? Well, you might consider using generative AI, tools like ChatGPT in your job search. But that could make you look bad, or it could help you a lot. And we're here to go over the do's and don'ts of using generative AI in your look for a job. How about that? Look for a job. That's not incorrect grammar. Perfect grammar. I'm here with Mike Shekhtman, a regional director at talent solution firm Robert Half, to discuss this. Mike, always a pleasure having you here.
Thanks for having me on again.
Thanks for not criticizing my grammar. I should have used ChatGPT to write my introduction for this interview. That was my mistake. I feel like if you use AI the right way, you are lauded for getting your work done quickly and getting it done well. Use AI the wrong way, everyone's going to call you out because you're writing weird stuff that hallucinates and does a bad job or is really obvious. And I feel like there's no thing where this is more apparent than when looking for work. What are some of the do's and don'ts here? I imagine don't write your complete resume. Using AI is one of them.
Yeah, no, David, I think there's a massive difference between being efficient and being lazy. And I think this is where we're seeing some of those discrepancies. AI is not about replacing what you're doing in terms of the job search. It needs to be part of an add-on, right? So making sure, and we're seeing this, hiring managers now are receiving large volumes of nearly identical applications. And people are leveraging AI in a sense where they're literally mirroring the resume and the job description. And putting these types of prompts are not going to get you the job. It may get you an interview, but you have to be able to tailor it. And one of the things that we talked about, and I heard this more recently, is remember to keep it real. And when I say keep it real, it's just refining, ethical, authentic, and leverage. And those are the four components where you want to be able to edit your resume, but not make it exactly the way it is. Being ethical, making sure that you're not claiming the different skills that you have and experience that you don't have. And just keeping it personal. This is your story to tell, right? So you got to be able to work that way. And finally, leverage AI in a way that, again, you're brainstorming ideas, not necessarily copying and pasting.
One thing I found is, like, if I have a letter, I come up with the body of it. It's my original work, but I need it like fleshed out a bit or cleaned up, or I'm not sure about the grammar because I'm dyslexic. That's a good thing. Like, plug it in and it's like, hey, ChatGPT, clean this up. It's my letter, my original letter. The output is very similar, maybe a little better. That's a good place to start with resumes. Don't just say, write me a resume, write your own damn resume, and then it can help you clean it up or tailor it towards a specific job. Would you say that's good advice?
Absolutely. And it's again, whatever you get from ChatGPT or other tools, it should only be 20% of the work. So I always have a rule of thumb where if it's 25%, then you can supplement it, right? So it's, again, you can create efficiencies in the process, but not necessarily replace what you're doing with it. And I think this is where people are just putting too much emphasis into the tool. And a good analogy is, especially if you're not authentic and things are not necessarily aligned with your experiences, it may get you in the door, but you're not going to last. You're not going to last whether it's in the interview process or in the job. It's like the whole idea, and this is, again, a bit of an analogy. I'm 5'9". I'm not going to put on a dating site if I was single that I'm 6 foot, right?
You're going to obviously do what everyone who's 5'9" does and put that you're 5'11".
That's it. There's going to be a problem when you show up, right? So I think similarly in nature, I think that you just got to be and represent who you are, and again, do and leverage every technology that we have. I think it's a big emphasis. If you don't use the tools, you're going to be left behind. So it's about using it right.
Now, a lot of people think of using AI to help with the job search as like writing, like, oh, it'll help me write my resume, or it'll help me write some cover letter. It can also be used to help you train for your interview. Like, we all get these dreaded HR style questions in an interview when a potential manager asks you things like, tell us about your biggest weakness, or tell us about a time you struggled during, and there's like a list of 50 of these questions, and they're hard, and you want to come up with a good answer. You can use AI to either practice or help you brainstorm, you can ask AI to ask you back, how might I answer this question given my experience? It can be used to kind of train yourself, not necessarily to pass off work that was generated by AI, but a lot of people don't think about this.
Yeah, and that is a great example where it can be used as a great tool where you can almost role play with ChatGPT or other tools to actually work through some of those behavioral type of questions. So I'm fully supportive, and I think we're getting some great success where people can actually walk through it. I think the magic happens is where you're able to actually insert some of your own stories and experiences that allow an employer to understand how you can make an impact on their organization and work through that. I think where people maybe fumble through that process is they don't think about it. They know the questions will come, and yet they're not preparing for it. So the more you can prepare leveraging AI with some of those behavioral questions, situational questions, that will maybe reveal some of those experiences, not through just a generic one-sentence answer, it will allow you and allow the employer to really assess whether you're a good fit for their organization.
And in your free time, you can ask ChatGPT to role play in different ways, but that's a conversation for another interviewee. What are some of the other ways it can be used? For example, the dreaded cover letter, the tailored cover letter it's like you apply to 50 jobs and you got to write 50 different tailored cover letters. Is it good to help with things like that? And if so, how?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You can insert your resume into one of the platforms and it can skew and basically put together a standard cover letter. You can leverage the tools to actually create a cover letter based on your skills and align it with the job description. But again, you got to be able to strip that apart and tailor it and make sure you edit and refine it. Because again, you want to be able to insert some of your own personalized stories into that cover letter to make sure it aligns with that. So yes, it can create and make something that is ready to send, but it's literally going to be the same thing that maybe 3 other candidates will be sending along. How much effort you put into it there beyond is really going to set you apart, which is going to be crucial.
In today's age, how important is having a good LinkedIn profile while searching for a job? And if so, is there a way I can use AI to help me polish up mine? Side note, I'm going through mine right now as you speak. I'm not asking for a friend. I'm asking for me.
Yeah, no, I think LinkedIn is something that is always live in real time, and you're getting further acceleration where hiring managers are always on there. Brands are investing more and more into LinkedIn, and it's crucial that you're mirroring your resume to your LinkedIn profile. So you're always updating it, you're always networking, you're always leveraging the tool. You're almost engaging in the community because, again, no different than other platforms, it becomes a bit of a chamber that, depending on what industry you're in, so it allows you to really leverage that technology to build further relationships to the point where sometimes some people have been able to line positions or referrals for even roles that were not even posted. So your ability to really network, and not only network from a standpoint where it's like, hey, I'm looking for a job. And network is like, how can I help the community? How can I build people up? How can I comment on different things that will add value? That's the stuff that gets recognized and organically builds your network in a way that will pay dividends.
Well, Mike Shekhtman is a senior regional director at talent solution firm Robert Half. Mike, thanks for going over these ways in which we can use generative AI to help us with our resumes, our job search, our careers. I appreciate your time.
Always my pleasure. Thank you.
That is very much the show. I wish you very much a great weekend. And I will definitely, probably, maybe, no, probably, unless, something happens, be back on Monday night. Don't forget to check out our podcast at www.lastshow.pizza. That's lastshow.pizza. There you can find details and subscribe to it. And I will leave you with some excellent advice. Always be yourself. Always express yourself, especially at airport security. I'm David Cooper. This is The Last Show.